So I think we're recording. Excellent. Okay, so chatting again, Zoom style this time, to Frans. I want to get your surname right. Frans Stiene?
Stiene.
Okay, Frans Stiene, who I love and who I chatted to last year on Instagram Live, but it deleted, so we're just kind of reenacting it for everyone. Loves the conversation. Last time I only had Reiki Insights and we chatted about that. This time I've got the Inner Heart of Reiki, which I'm really excited to start reading at some point in 2021 when I get a minute or two from my kids. But last time we kind of focused on Reiki Insights because that was the book that I had read and I absolutely loved it, and that's what made me reach out to you to ask if we could have a chat about it, because the way that the book is written I found so good, so easy to follow, so simplistic in the way that it reiterates what Reiki is. And I just wanted to kind of talk about the structure of it and how that came about, and where the idea was to keep going over the Reiki precepts, you know, in every chapter. Was that intentional, or was it just how the book flowed?
No, for me, you know, like I think there's a lot of different things. So when I started to practice the system of Reiki about 24 years ago, I lived in India, and I lived for a year in a Tibetan area. And I bought some of these books by these Tibetan teachers, and they were so clear, so direct, so simple. And then when I started to investigate the system of Reiki, I bought some books by very famous Zen masters like Sundari Suzuki. And again, they were so simple and clear. And at that time, I couldn't write that simple and clear. It was a bit like this. But over time, for me, the other day, actually, someone asked, Frans, how are you teaching in this very simple, clear manner? And I've thought about it a lot. And for me, is really through our own direct experience. In Japanese, it's called sanmitsu, mind, body, speech. So when the mind is really calm and clear, then we can articulate very clear and direct. And then, of course, you know, the body also moves in a very clear, direct way. We see this with people who are very famous pianists, for example, or speakers, and not even speakers, because sometimes I think when I listen to a speaker, it's kind of memorized, you know, they're memorizing something. For me, it needs to come from your whole being. And so, yes, when I started to sit more on my butt and do my practice and gain more clarity in my own mind, I really felt that my writing and the way of teaching and conveying became clearer, more direct, more structured. And I also really like in Japanese that whole idea of go back to beginner's mind. You know, sometimes we gather so much information and ideas, and then we don't sit in our butt, and all these information and ideas are swirling around in our head, and they don't find clarity then. And so beginner's mind for me is going back to the roots, the precepts, for example. And for me, the precepts are the ultimate element within Mikasui's teaching. Hands-on healing we can all do, but to embody the precepts in our daily life, man, that is difficult, right?
Especially at this time. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I love what you said then about sitting on your butt, and through that comes clarity, because that is what I have learned from your book and what I learned through your Instagram as well. And obviously on my journey of Reiki, I am learning that, you know, all this information that is coming into our minds, which can overwhelm us, it can overcomplicate. to process it through sitting and meditating and focusing on the breath and coming back to the precepts allows you to kind of sift it in a way, you know, like you do with baking. So
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
sifting out the chunks that aren't really needed so you can get to that gold. And that's the clarity, isn't it? And once that clarity comes, as you say, it just flows. And a lot of the times, and I can relate to how you've learned that through that comes this simplicity, because I'm the same. I have this over analytical mind that thinks about everything and everyone and every possibility. And when you do Reiki and you come back to the beginnings and the core concepts, you do realize that it is quite simplistic and you can let go of all of the rest. It allows that clarity and that simplicity.
Yeah, you know, if I read all of these or listen to these old teachers, you know, who really have that direct experience, like the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, Zenrei Suzuki, etc., then when they speak or when they teach or when you read, you feel almost like it's a transmission. It's very direct, very clear. You can really see, and to use your terminology, that they have shifted through everything. And for me, we learn in 3 different ways. So that's first, we listen to someone, we read a book. But if we keep it at that, it's not enough, right? Because then it's just intellectual knowledge. And then if I read or repeat what you said, then I'm just a parrot, right? And then what's the use? But after I read it or listened to it, I have to contemplate it, if it's true or not, because maybe you're saying things what is not really true, because maybe we haven't sat on our butt and we just blah, blah, blah something, or we repeat what we've heard from other people. So then I have to contemplate. So listen, read, then contemplate and see if it makes sense. So going through the sieve. And then to sift it even more so, I need to have that direct experience. And that for most people is the hardest, where we have to sit on our butt and really do that direct experience, that direct practice. Then we can say, oh, that makes perfectly sense, or that doesn't make perfectly sense. Just for example, today, I read on this forum and someone said, oh, you can just draw the first symbol of Reiki 2 over a person and protect them. And I go like, really? You know, if you really think about it, if it works like that, then we quickly draw it over everybody in the UK and there will be no coronavirus anymore because we protect it. But, you know, we don't think about it. We are being taught that from a person, from the teacher. Then we say, oh, all you have to do is like this and I'm protected.
Yeah.
Well, if we really think about it simply and say, okay, so that means if I'm really protected, I draw it over everybody in the UK, no more corona. Then we go, hang on, that doesn't really make any sense. That doesn't work that way. We don't even have to sit on a butt to do this. We only have to think about it in a very clear kind of way. But sometimes we find thinking about it also in a very clear way we find difficult because we haven't sat on our butt.
Yeah, completely. And I love that. I love the way you keep bringing it back, you know, in the book, in the conversation, bringing it back. And just to clarify for what people, what Frans is saying when he says sits on the butt, is not just go sit down, watch Netflix. Okay, people, there's some work to be done. Sitting down, meditating. And I think, you know, it's so interesting that you just brought that up, because I was just about to say that a lot of times when clients come to you, they think that we are the ones that are healing or fixing them. And the work that we do is explaining that there is work to do, that
Absolutely.
You know, the Reiki is a concept, and the concept and the work in order for your own unique Reiki to flow for your the highest good of yourself is for you to do the work. So
Yes.
our work is are constantly on ourselves and sitting down and meditating and passing on that information and those tools so that other people can do that work. Because like you say, it's not, I am a Reiki practitioner, I am a Reiki master, I am healing you, I'll just draw these symbols. I think, it's really important to get across to people that if you want to heal your mind, body, soul, your energy, for whatever reason you're coming, it all comes back to that meditation and that focus on the breath. And you do say that in your book, they're bringing it back to the breath. Breath work, as we talked about before, is so important.
Very clearly, we can clearly see if we have anxiety or worried or fearful, our breathing changes, right? It's very clearly to see. So we already see that there is a really big link to it. And therefore the emotional state, and this is why the precepts only point out the state of mind. It doesn't say anything about hands-on healing, doesn't say anything about the radio or attunement or initiation. It really speaks about the state of mind. And therefore, this is so important. We can, and we have to learn how to take that state of mind of no anger, no worry, no fear, and being grateful, being true to our inner being, and being compassionate into our daily life. That, for me, is the system of Reiki. And as you say, I think we have a very distorted view of healing. We say, oh, you have to heal me. I don't have to do anything because you're the healer. And again, if that was so simple, then go out and heal everybody and no one has corona anymore. Again, that doesn't happen. That is not the case. It's a very individual element. It depends also on how responsive you are. If you're, it takes two to tango ultimately. And it's, again, the same for the initiation. People say, oh, you just have to receive the initiations and that's it. Well, again, if it was that simple, then after the initiation, there will be no more anger, no more worry, no more fear, being grateful, being true to awareness, being compassionate. Well, then we quickly do attunements on everybody in the UK, and UK will be the most happiest and content place in the world. And again, we know this is not the truth. It doesn't work that way. So if we investigate, and this is why, I really try to stimulate people to investigate what they've learned and then to have that direct experience. So then there becomes more clarity. And most important is ultimately that direct experience, because if we stay only with the contemplation, we can't go deep enough to really investigate if it's true or not. I see it a little bit, to come back to the sieving. If you tell me a recipe of a cake, I listen to it, and then if I contemplate it, I can say, yeah, that is right. But I actually have to make it and eat it to understand if it's right or not. Because specifically, if I have no clue about making a cake. So you explaining me about the cake is not enough. Me contemplating about the cake is also not enough, because maybe you put some ingredients in it what shouldn't be in there and I've got no clue at all. I need to actually
do it.
Dirty my hands, make it, eat it. Not once, not twice, lots of times, to be able to say, yes, now that is correct.
Yeah. So the action is so important.
Yes.
It's that I think I just have this really bizarre like business flow chart in my head. I don't know why, because I know I studied business at uni, so perhaps that's why. But it is a bit like, it's like that kind of cycle of just to go back to the precepts, when we're talking about do not anger, do not worry, and I think a lot of people mistake that, and I know we talked about this last time, mistake that for what do you mean we're going to be positive all the time, and getting that across that no, it's not about being positive. It's about doing this work that starts by you acknowledging that you feel negative, you feel crap, you've got all this crap in your sifting thing. If that's imagine that's your thoughts, So what are you going to do with them? You know, it's completely valid to have those thoughts.
Absolutely.
So the techniques that the healer, or I don't even like using that word because it quite, to me, it feels quite egotistically. It's just,
Yeah.
I've learned about Reiki, you've learned about Reiki, other people learn about Reiki, and we're just sharing it. And, you know, we turn it into our own business where we can bring clients into it so we can talk about it further and educate people, teach them. So it's just, you know, that kind of idea that we're all constantly going in this cycle of understanding our ever-changing emotions and feelings, and not bypassing them. I think that's the key. And I love when you say keep going back to the precepts, because it's not this sudden, oh God, you know, like you say, oh, I'm just cured and I know everything and I'm happy and we're all happy forever, you know, and ever fairy tale.
The Reiki fairy tale.
Yeah, you know, we all want the fairy tale. We all want the happiness and the peace and the balance, but it's every day finding that peace and that balance and working on the energy. And it's just so I love that you just talked about the action there, because I find that so, that's what's helped me with my children, is that I can go to somebody's class and they can teach me about Reiki, but how do I put that in the context of my own life?
Yeah.
With this swirling chaos around me, you know, how do I use what I've learned about breathing so I'm not like screaming at my kids and I'm being Reiki, you know? And it's that kind of, okay, what, going back to the precepts and grounding myself with that. And I think forgiving yourself and acknowledging that in the teachings that Yusui is saying about do not anger and do not worry, to take that more as a, okay, the ultimate goal of the day is not to anger and not to worry.
Yeah.
But I think if you have to forgive yourself and that you've recognized it and that you want to work on it is amazing.
Yeah, and that's also why there is compassion in the precepts. You know, if we do get angry and worried again, what is quite normal, then be compassionate to yourself. And, you know, this is, again, it's like a sieve. We have to, the precepts are, sometimes people take them very literally, and but they're like this, you know, interwoven with each other. It's like making a cake. You know, we can't leave one part out. And we say, oh, the flour is the cake. No, the cake is the flour and the sugar and this and that, etc. That's the cake. The precepts is this wholeness of all of the separate elements coming together. And yeah, that takes time, that takes practice. And for me, therefore, you know, when Mikasui speaks about the Reiki 3 symbol and mantra of this luminosity and great bright light, the other way of describing this great bright light, and that we are having no anger, no worry, no fear, being grateful, being true to awareness, being, and being compassionate. So the metaphor of the great bright light is actually exactly the same as the precepts. They're all pointing towards the same thing. The embodiment of the precept, the embodiment of this great bright light. And if we honestly look at ourselves, then man, that is difficult. We need we need the rest of our life practicing, not just a magical achievement or a magical symbol or a magical object what helps us. We all know that is ultimately not enough. And I think people start to see this now, you know. In the beginning, before, for example, COVID, people thought, oh yeah, we don't need to sit down and about, you know, life is okay. And suddenly life is not so okay. And they said, well, you know, I've been practicing for 15 years and well, I feel like shit. What the hell? Yeah, but have you been sitting on your butt? Or have you just relied on some magic symbol or a magic tool? Well, that's not enough, because magic doesn't really exist in that. Magic is remembering our true nature, remembering our inner luminosity, and that takes time. Maybe the rest of our life, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a life's work. I am realizing that. I think at the beginning of my journey, I wanted a quick fix. You know, I suffered anxiety and postnatal depression, and even before having kids, and I was overwhelmed with the children. And so turning to Reiki as something that was a management was really great, because I found that the sessions were really good. But I think when I stepped away from it, it was like, oh, I don't feel calm anymore, because I feel calm in that environment. So when I started to learn about it and understand, hang on a minute, how can I bring this in for myself? And, you know, obviously learning through a teacher and then becoming attuned, but still, even when you do that, there's more work to be done. And that's why I love, you know, the books that I mean, I haven't read the second one yet, but I just love the way that you teach it in a way that's not assuming we all know the language of Reiki and Mikao Usui. And it's going back to saying, you know, the precepts are do not anger, do not worry, keep coming back to it. And I love that in chapter 2 we keep going back. So remembering the precepts, you know, it's like when you're at school and you're learning how to write and you're sounding all these sounds. I mean, I'm probably talking about that because I'm doing it with my kids at the minute, but you know, there's a pattern to it. And if he wants to be able to write by himself, understanding that you start with this, each day we go back to the same sounds and we repeat them and we repeat them, and then we add another layer, and eventually he doesn't need me, he can do it by himself.
Yeah.
It's this management that I really want to get across to other people, of how they can manage. So for example, like you know, people who are interested in Reiki, perhaps they haven't been taught about Reiki yet, maybe they've just heard about it, and with the COVID situation, obviously their mental health is suffering, or they want to do something in order to improve their energy. So what recommendations would you give to people who are true beginners of Reiki, where to go and how to go about it? Other than to go directly to your website.
I would give this to everybody, no matter if they're a beginner or, you know, a long-term practitioner, because it's so important. And that is ultimately going inside the body. You know, when we think again about anger and worry, our anger and worry is not somewhere here. We all know we store it inside the body, right? This is why we get diseases. That's why we have pain, or you get heart problems, you name it. So we store this trauma inside our body. So to help to release that, we need to go inside our body. Nowadays, I think, particularly when people are locked in one room now with, you know, a COVID situation, we start to go in our mind, right? So make sure you go in your body, you know, leave the mind alone, because you just get tangled up.
Yeah.
Stop watching the news in a way. Stop listening to that stuff. It's not that difficult. Just switch it off. I don't even have TV, you know, so it's easy for me because I can't switch the TV on. I don't have a TV.
Yeah.
And yeah, really going back.
That's the best thing ever. Just don't buy a TV. Just tune out, people.
And, you know, center yourself inside your body. So in the Japanese philosophy, the hara, your center just below your belly button. And I always travel with my good friend, Weeble Wobble.
Oh.
And Weebles wobble, but they don't fall. They come back up, right?
Yeah.
And because this is the reason why they come back up, is that the foundation, the groundness, is at the bottom. So, is a very small little thing to do it, is because it's heavy at the bottom. Now we fall over and we keep laying like this. We start to feel depressed, sad, whatever, etc. One of the reasons is because we carry so much energy in our head. We become upside down pyramids. And therefore really doing that deep breathing into your body, into your hara, into your center, just below your belly button, for me is essential. And, you know, in a way, Mikasui pointed this out as well with hands-on healing. The first thing is we touch ourselves. Why? This brings us back into our body. Is not something there, but this is, I think, also an issue. When we say Reiki is somewhere outside of yourself, we start to look for it somewhere there. But in fact, you are Reiki, and therefore we have to go within. The more we start to look external, the harder it becomes to release these internal traumas. And therefore, the harder it is for your energy to keep flowing. It doesn't flow because it's obstructed by these internal traumas.
Right.
So yes.
Sorry, I'll let you carry on.
So yes, go within, centering, grounding, make sure you move your body. Yeah, love your body.
That's such good advice. And I love that I recently said something in one of my Instagram posts about tuning out of the news. And I think some people found that a bizarre concept. I think we have become so addicted to screens, phones, computers, TV. All this information is coming at us. And when you actually just turn them off, and it's not just a physical act to turn them off, it's actually mentally saying to yourself, I'm allowed to tune out of this. You know, I'm not being ignorant. I'm understanding the situation. I'm conscious of it. But is this healthy for me? Because if you're constantly listening to this negativity, you're out, like you say, you're out of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people nowadays, because of all this information, are so disconnected and afraid to go into themselves, because, well, that's where we carry the emotions, like you said. So to really go into ourselves is scary.
It is.
But necessary to understand where these feelings come from. And like you say, not relying on an external source to sort it out for you. We're so used to, I suppose, medication and prescription, which is you know, it has its place, and Reiki is always complementary to that. Absolutely. But you know, when you realize, because you do Reiki and you live Reiki and you practice Reiki, I don't know if you can still see me because it says my connection's unstable apparently. Like me. When you do that, you realize how powerful it is, and it seems so simple that other people can't quite understand. Why is this working for that person? You know, explaining that your energy of your Reiki, your life force energy, and tapping into it is actually how you release all of these trapped emotions. You know, I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just kind of came out.
But it is, for me, is very clearly, we only have to say to ourselves, okay, if I've been worried the whole day, do I feel tired or energized at the end of the day? If I've been angry the whole day, do I feel energized or tired? Well, then we come to a conclusion that we feel tired. So we're depleting our energy, right? We get worried and angry. So the system of Reiki, when we look at the precepts, it's also how to preserve your energy. When we preserve our energy, by not getting angry and worried and not being grateful, etc., we preserve our energy. Therefore, we feel healthier, happier, more content. Our immune system gets a boost because we feel happier and more content. We're not depleting our energy with anger and worry. So this is a whole strange situation now where we've been bombarded by the media, and we start to feel so worried because of the media, and we take it on, right? And then we're weakening our immune system. So instead, the media should promote the support of strengthening the immune system instead of trying to weaken it. But it doesn't do it for most of the time. So therefore, switch it off. It's very simple.
Yeah, it is that simple. And I think, you know, the idea for some people is bizarre because they've become so used to it. It's like, just switch it off. You know what you need to do to be conscious. and to wear the masks, and we're being told to stay at home. And I think that you know, like you say, obviously the anxiety comes through watching it so much. So just to become aware of that, where is my anxiety coming from? Well, all this news is coming of death, and that's scaring me. Obviously majority of people are fearful of death. So by tuning it off, we're not ignoring that it's there, but it's like we're tuning out of that and then tune into yourself. So you can, like you say, instead of you're just depleting the energy, you can channel into doing something that you love, or that you know it's going to make you get through this situation. You know, a lot of I mean, I do craft classes as my other job, so a lot of therapies in that way have come up, and the positives out of this situation is, you know, like tapping into an activity that actually, like you say, it promotes this positive energy rather than it's just dwindling, because ultimately you can't do anything about the situation. And I think that's where a lot of people's anger is coming from. It's like they can't control it. And I mean, I don't like being out of control either. So I think, you know, like to acknowledge just two things, just those two main things, like where's my anxiety coming from? Where's my anger coming from? And to sit with it, because like you say, if you don't sit with it, you're not going to get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to come up, and you're not going to be able to work through it and release it and get to the other.
You have to, the first point of call is to be aware of it. You know, this is what actually do not anger, do not worry really means, is become aware of your anger and worry. Because if we are not aware of it, we can't do anything about it. We don't know. And therefore, you know, so again, therefore, Mikasui keeps reaffirming to the concept of light. We need light to become aware. If it's really dark in this room, it's now, I didn't put much light on, so it's getting darker now. It's 5 p.m. And it's harder to see things.
Yeah.
But if we put the light on, then of course it's much easier to see things. So that inner luminosity is really important to see that we actually are distracted. This is what a lot of people, when they start to meditate for the first time, they say, oh man, all these thoughts come up. No, these thoughts were there already in the first place, but because you were so busy working with these thoughts that you didn't see them. But now that you sit down on your butt and you start to calm down, you go like, man, what the hell? I've got so many thoughts. But that's the first point of call, that we become aware of it, because then we can do something about it.
Yeah. And I like what you said before of, you know, and also move your body, because after you have done the meditation and a lot of stuff comes up, and especially at the beginning of this journey when, you know, oh my God, so much is coming up, and like the world is just like, what? It's surreal and it's cracking, and I feel like I'm crazy. To actually, you know, go out and, I mean, for me, I go out and I walk in nature and I ground myself, or just to move the body, or do some dancing. Which I just love when you did that Instagram where you were dancing, and it was just amazing. And I was like, I was watching you, and then I think I looked away for a second, and you were like, come on, dance. And I was like, oh my God, it's talking to me. But it's true, you know, it's like, how can we change our energy up? You know, there's meditation, which so powerful, and then there's walking, and there's hobbies, and there's dancing, you know, and it's like all of these different ways of channeling all of our feelings, you know, this anger and this anxiety and all of it, and channeling it and process it and sifting it and getting rid of what the crap that we don't need, and keeping all of the beautiful stuff that allows our light to like shine out of us. You know, you said something before and I was going to say, I've lost my trail.
That's okay. But yeah, for me, we need to make active choices. You know, we can sit passively down, and sometimes we become immobilized, you know, and we feel so overwhelmed. But yeah, we do need to make active choices to work on ourselves. And you know, the Dalai Lama says one wonderful thing, and he says, you know, if you feel depressive, then go and help others. because when we sit at home, particularly in this, if we lock down and we keep focusing on ourselves, it's really difficult. But if we say, oh, I'm going to do some shopping for my 75-year-old neighbor, then we get out of that self-pity, for example, and then we shift the focus. So try to shift the focus.
Yeah, I think that shift at the perspective is really important. I know it did used to really piss me off at the beginning, because I used to think, I don't feel positive. I didn't feel positive. And I want to make sure that people know that it's okay if they feel negative, and it's important to acknowledge, and like you say, the awareness of those feelings, and then to make that active choice of, okay, I know I feel this way, so what can I do with it? Whether I need to reach out for help, whether whether I need to just take time out for myself, whether I need to, like get out of my own head for a bit and just, like you say, help somebody. I was just going to talk about an example of this week with homeschooling, which is fun, which is, the shifting of the perspective with it. For me, if we are doing, what we love, which my boys absolutely love jumping over the icy pond, smashing it up, throwing some rocks in, going for nature walks. For me, shifting the perspective to, brilliant, we can do more of that.
Absolutely.
My mind and my heart was so happy, and I was like, I can deal with this. And then we had a day where there was so much pressure from the schools. Okay, they need to log in so many times a day, they need to do this amount of homework, and the stress was overwhelming to, be homeschooling two different levels of children with, I'm not a teacher, and I'm not a teacher in that specific way. And so I had to bring myself back. I literally had to take a moment to ground myself and think about, hang on, I'm getting really pissed off, and I'm getting really upset, and I'm getting anxious. So where is this coming from? And only when you sit with it and get to it, and you unlock those feelings of, okay, well, I feel like if they don't do the work, they're going to get in trouble, and I'm going to be seen as a bad mom, and they're going to be seen as lazy, or or I'm getting angry because they're sending me all this telling me what to do, and I'm the worst person. If you tell me something what to do, I'm literally going to do the opposite. So I had this moment where I was like, you know what, I am feeling physically, I was feeling like this, and I was feeling it in my head, and I felt it everywhere. And to go and meditate and do a beautiful guided meditation, or listen to music, or get in the bath, but to actually process those feelings and go, yeah, you know what, those feelings are fine. How can I now communicate it so I can get how I'm feeling across to the teachers, so we can work together positively, rather than say, what the fuck are you doing? Life's hard enough, for fuck's sake, we all want to do that. But I mean, to put it into a perspective of, right, well, I'm sure the teachers are stressed, I'm sure all the mums are feeling this way, how can we work together? That's just one example. So if any homeschooling parents watching this feeling that, just communicate with clarity.
This is it. We have to learn how to communicate with clarity and reach out and support each other in that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the empathy aspect and the compassion, when you can relate to your feelings and then think, well, how's that other person feeling? Because that teacher's got 30 children, she's probably got 30 mums going, what? To put yourself in their position, step out of, like what you just said then, I mean, I didn't physically go and help the teacher, but in my head, to step out of myself and my anger, and from my point of view, to step into her shoes and think, well, what can I do to help her, to help me?
Or then we can also clearly see where they are coming from. Do you know what I mean? When we have a little bit more clarity within ourselves, we can see, oh, why is that person reacting that way because we have the clarity to see it. But if we're not clear within ourselves, then we don't know why that person is behaving the way they're behaving. And then we probably react with anger and worry and fear and anxiety, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because we think about, what's happening in America, and, a lot of people, I mean, even Reiki practitioners and teachers and masters are probably looking at the situation, and to understand other people's behavior and to process it is so hard. I think, the precepts,
Yeah,
again, going back to the do not anger, do not worry, it's just so helpful. And what you put in the book about, you have a grounding exercise, which I love, that you put your feet up against the wall.
yeah, it's a perfect one. I actually taught it today to someone.
Did you? Oh my God, what synchronicity. Oh, I thought it was brilliant. It actually, other than grounding ourselves by physically going out into nature, which again I love, and I think just as having two children, it's great for them to run for miles. I don't even know where they are half the time. But to have that grounding exercise, you can actually feel it, just the pushing against the wall. It feels like a release.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's but this is for me, again, we are so ungrounded, with computers, telephones, we constantly hear intellectually, we constantly why, and it makes us so ungrounded, so outside of our body, and therefore then again there is no clarity. It's like a balloon. I see it always with a balloon with a little string attached, and the balloon is being taken by the wind everywhere. We go like this. But as soon as we tie a little brick to the string,
Yeah.
the balloon still moves, but we feel more centered and grounded. And that for me is essential, the system of Reiki, hands-on, really feeling his body, doing the deep breathing and the hara, centering ourselves. Because if we're not centered and grounded, what happens? We quickly get angry and worried. And therefore we don't feel compassionate and kind. In a way, again, it's super simple, but because it's so simple, we try to make it complicated.
Yeah, we do. I think that's our skill as humans. We overcomplicate what is so simple. I mean, you look at life and the modern world and everything that we have, and like you say, with technology, which is beautiful in ways, but it's that balance, isn't it, of knowing when to switch off and tune in, go back to just basics and go back to what your original spirit and energy came into this world having.
Absolutely, yes.
With, just nature and not much else probably, but I was going to say something else then as you were talking about, the balloon. So I like that because I think a lot of people, I know, like Reiki practitioners and Reiki masters and teachers, we understanding what grounding is, but like for people who are completely new to Reiki, how would you explain what grounding is then?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really being in your body. And this is why I use the we will wobble a lot, that the we will comes automatically up because the center is at the bottom and not at the top. So yeah, when we feel grounded, or it's like roots of a tree, if the tree doesn't have any roots, it can not have a big canopy. Some wind comes along, tree falls over. I live on the big building. It's 20 stories high. If the foundation is not good, the building will fall over. So if we are too much up here in the head, so therefore the imagery of an upside down pyramid is unstable. So make sure that your center is really wide as possible, not from a big belly, but energetically, and your mind. Bring your mind down. When our mind is constantly up here, this is why a lot of people nowadays have difficulty sleeping, because they go and lay down. They're just going over stuff in their mind. but bring it down. Put your hands on your belly button, just below your belly button. You will see that's the center of your body. And simple tricks like that, simple exercises will help you to become aware that it's so essential to be in your body, stay centered, stay grounded, like the roots of a tree.
That's so great. I that is what I love from your book, of that, you know, when you talked about the hara, which I didn't learn through my Reiki course. It was when I joined Yolanda's, you know, alchemy circle, and they started talking about the hara, and I was like, should I know this? You know, as a Reiki practitioner, I don't feel like I know what this is. So again, I was continuing to learn stuff, even though I'd got the certificate. I don't know why I did that. I do have a certificate. Tell me about the title. But what's been really helpful in that grounding process is really, like you say, daily consistent work of like putting your hands on that space and breathing. And I found that in like times in the middle of the night when, you know, maybe anxiety's crept in and I haven't been able to go back to sleep, just doing that, it's like magic. That is the magic, because you're putting, you know, your own energy. In the past, I just used to reach out and grab a paracetamol or something, and I would go back to sleep that way. So it just goes to show how, wow, you know, I've kind of self-soothed like a baby. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of putting my thumb, you know, I've kind of, you know, soothed myself to sleep, which is such a powerful skill.
And if we can learn it, and if we think, oh, that little action already helps, what if I really sit down on my butt? For example, so I live in high floor in an apartment building. And when I moved in here about 3 years ago, some people said, oh, Frans, now every day you need to go out to the park to ground yourself. And I said, yes, that's all good and well. But if I have to rely on the park, then again, I see outside of myself. I need to make sure that the park is in me, you know, and that I can do it also when I'm in my apartment, because maybe there are times where I don't have time or cannot go to the park. So yes, we can use these tools like the park, etc. But yeah, learn how to ground yourself in your own mind, body, and energy.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I love that, because that did, I like I said before, I was going for the Reiki sessions, and I think a lot of people think, oh, well, if I go for Reiki and I'll feel so much better, and then you do, obviously, but because you are in that environment that is promoting such beautiful energy flow, to then take those techniques and learn them for yourself so that you can do it.
Absolutely.
Is so great that, like you say, you're not relying on, okay, I need to go for a massage to feel good, I need to go here, you know, I need to go outside. I mean, obviously with children, I'll go insane if we don't go outside for
I still go outside insane if I don't go outside. But
no, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah, because there's times, and for people who are unable to get to a space of natural beauty for whatever reason, to be able to use the idea of grounding is so powerful, you know. And we haven't touched on it yet, but you know, the being grateful, the concept of being grateful, again, so powerful, to at the end of a day to write down, you know, what you're grateful for. And I use it for positives and negatives, because
absolutely.
you know, like if I try and find 3 positives in a day, no, there are, like, as I have done my journey in Reiki, obviously I will find so much, I am so much more grateful and found some positives, but I like to use the negatives to say, thank you for that, because that made me learn something that I now understand. And if I take what I've learned, even though it took me an emotional breakdown to learn it, you know, I've learned that lesson, and that is a lesson, hopefully that situation will not keep repeating, because I have dealt with it with my new Reiki techniques from Reiki Insight. Just thought I'd plug that for you there. But I do, what I love about this is it's like a Bible in a way, because like you say, it doesn't matter what stage you're at. So whether you're beginner or, I mean, who's going to be supremely advanced, we may never get to, I may never get to that advanced stage.
Neither. So
But I'm
yeah.
guessing if you've written pretty, you know, quite a few books, Frans, you're quite advanced in this stage. So I love that when I can open these books and just, you know, like I have certain ones where I've dog-eared them, you know, and the practice of the Joshin Kokyo Ho. And before, I didn't know what that was. It might have been written in my workbook, thrown in there, that I did with Reiki, but to actually, you know, like certain things that are part of the whole Reiki umbrella, but the way that you've written them, that goes so much deeper to explain what is it, you know.
Yeah.
And you talk and you go to the origins, and I love that about that. And you I think you said before you went to Japan, was that right?
Yeah, I've been a lot of times to Japan. I'm training since 2012 with a priest, a Shigendo priest, and he's in his 60s and he's fantastic. He's very strict. He's very eccentric. I trained the first time I went there in 2012 in his little monastery, and it was really exciting. Not easy, very difficult. He's very, but it's great, you know. At the same time, it's really good. Sometimes we need a kick in the butt, you know, and say, hey, come and do it. Go and get your act together. It's all good and well to just, you know, think about it or hear or read a book, but, you know, get your act together. And that for me has been really essential. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a little Mr. Miyagi kind of, really.
Yes, he's a bit like that.
He's like, you know, telling you what to do. He was a bit eccentric, but I think like that eccentricity is what helps, you know, that kind of, those kind of methods. I like that. I like, you know, I like when I see something that's completely different, and it, you know, like I love all your posts. I'm not saying you're eccentric, but I love your posts because you make me.
Sometimes I do feel eccentric.
Well, I feel eccentric, so I think this is where I just love that essence of you, because I think some people, or you know, people think, oh, you're a Reiki practitioner, oh, you must be so zen. And I know a lot of people think, how, you know, oh, you bet you're so calm with your children. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's why I do Reiki. Like, the aim is to promote a calm energy, and
That's it, yeah.
but that's not to say, right, I'm going to learn about Reiki and now I know, and I'll go home and my children will be completely different because I'll have a different mindset. No, the thing is, Reiki is understanding you, your energy, and understanding how you can work with your energy to and how your energy affects other people.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. I had just today, I had a friend visiting. He works for a radio station, and about 2 years ago, he interviewed me and my son.
Oh, wow.
And so we were sitting in the recording studio 2 years ago, and so he said, "So what do you want to say about your dad?" And my son goes, "He's a bit eccentric."
You know what? Children will always tell the truth. You know,
I loved it. It was great.
I think, I'm sorry, my neighbour's dog just going off on one.
No,
That's the beauty of children. We learn so much with them. And I think this is where Reiki's really helped me as a mum, because they are mirrors. They reflect back my behaviour. So it like makes me go, oh, it's not them, it's me. So I need to work on that. But they also, you know, they speak the truth. They will
so
speak
brutally honest. It's beautiful. You know, I love it. Yeah. But then the guy he interviewed, he said, "So what do you think about your son?" I go like, I think he's a little bit like me. He's a bit eccentric.
That's
so we're both eccentric.
Yeah. And so your son, how old is your son?
He is 21.
All right. So he's all grown up now.
All grown up, yes. I just spoke to him about a couple of hours ago because he lives in Sydney.
Oh, wow. Oh, fantastic. Oh, right. Okay. So do you get to see him a lot, or? Well, obviously not.
Yeah, last year it was, unfortunately, but you know, we talk like this and it's okay.
And that's
again, good
that's
lesson.
the beauty of technology, isn't it, at this point, when we can connect, because physically we can't. be there. I was just going to say something about, what did your son think of Reiki? Did you bring him up?
Yeah, he came to retreat sometimes, and we had a Reiki center at home, so people would come there, and sometimes he participated. And now, I mean, he's 21, so he thinks, well, yeah, like this. But and yet you see him thinking about certain things, and I go like, okay. And I think it's best not to force your kids, but just be an example. Don't hide it either, don't hide your practice. I was always very open. I'm going to practice, I'm doing this or that, and it's a little seed what might be planted, and he might take it on board tomorrow or occasionally or in 10 years time, doesn't matter. But that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
That is beautiful. And you just said something then. Yeah, you said be open about it. And that's what I love about you, because your posts on Instagram are so open. You do post a lot about your daily life. And I love that, because I think what I've taken from Reiki a lot, is that it's okay to be you.
Absolutely.
Who you are is perfectly beautiful in itself.
Yeah.
And be your own greatest advocate and promoter. And like you say, being open and honest and communicating. And again, you don't know who you're planting the seed for, of inspiring them, whether it's your own children or somebody on social media or somebody who's read a book that it goes in, and like you say, it might not immediately take effect, but they might, oh, hang on a minute, what is this? And yeah, actually that gets them thinking about shifting their perspective and thinking about life in a different way.
In a very different way, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think, again, the same as with your son, like, obviously my children know about Reiki, and they'll have little sessions where they'll grab my crystal jar and like they'll find the biggest crystal, which is the heaviest one, and put it on my head, and they'll say, we'll do you a spa night, mummy, and my son, is so beautiful, he'll put his hands over, like, he goes, and both of them love the and I think that's so beautiful. But I in a way, when other people think of Reiki as that's great, but I want to get across that Reiki is part of everyday life.
Absolutely.
That's what we're striving for, is that it's always on. I think we talked about this before, because I was taught hands-on, hands-off, and you have this in your book, and I remember reading that and going, oh, okay, yeah, because it makes more sense that why am I just turning Reiki on for this situation, but I'm turning it off to go to the supermarket, for example?
Absolutely, where I could be loving and kind and not angry and worried.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. So that message, that I want to thank you, because for you being so open and honest and communicating, what you've found on your journey, is helping me and so many other practitioners, because like I say, I didn't learn these things. So to continue the work of understanding it and going, oh, okay, it just makes, personally, it transforms your energy, but it makes you a better teacher.
Yeah.
Or
practitioner in life, etc., indeed.
Yeah. And I know we're coming up towards the end of the 40 minutes that I only have on my basic Zoom account, but I just wanted to ask if do you have any resources that people can, other than the books, which obviously I bought mine on Amazon here in the UK. I'm pretty sure Amazon knows it, they must be making a fortune in COVID, they can ship it anywhere. But do you have any other resources that people can use online?
Yeah, have a look at our website, ihreiki.com, and stands for IH International House, reiki.com. And there's lots of blogs, free articles, there's free downloadable stuff. I've got a YouTube channel with some teachings and things. So yeah, explore it. And
Okay,
yeah.
amazing. I hate Reiki. So it's not I heart Reiki. It's
Well, then you could, why not?
yeah. So before we go and we sign off, would you do the most amazing thing, and you know how you chant so beautifully the precepts, and you sent it to me on a recording before. I don't know how to get a sound bite onto Instagram, so I just wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing your amazing chanting abilities with us.
Yeah, yes, of course. So I would do the precepts in Japanese. Okay. おらけはいかろな心配そな感謝してよあけめいとに親切におらけはいかろな心配そな感謝してよはけめいとに親切におらけはいかろな心配そな感謝してよあけめいとに親切に
That was so beautiful. Do you normally thank you so much for doing it. Do you normally do it 3 times then? Or I think
No, normally if I get the hang of it, sometimes for 45 minutes or yeah, half an hour.
I mean, I close my eyes for listening to those, and oh, you know, like just the vibrations really are so powerful. So
Yes, yeah.
I mean, if somebody wants to listen to your chanting, is that something you do on your YouTube channel?
Yes, there's some, there's I think 45 minutes chanting on my YouTube channel.
You do it so amazingly. You know, it just sounds so fantastic, and to be able to draw that breath in and say all of that in one breath, that's like, you know, serious skills there. So
Lots of practice, lots of practice.
You've inspired me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate chatting with you. I just think I could just chat to you, you know, every day, all day. I know you have some online courses, don't you? Which they sound so interesting, and I keep going to look at it. And while people are at home at the moment, it's something that they can do online, is it? So they
Absolutely,
can...
yes. Again, there's a lot of that is on our website, and there's lots of information and links to that. Yeah.
Fab. So what I'll do is I'll put IHReiki. Is it ihreiki.com or .org? Okay, so I'll put a little post about this and I'll put that up. And thank you so much. And hopefully next time for part 2, we'll be able to talk in depth about this book, which I need to just have a moment each night and just, you know, get my Frans fix. So we'll do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you so much. Okay, have a beautiful evening and a beautiful weekend, and thank you again.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.